One NBA star's son visits Carolina over the weekend, and then another NBA star's son's visit is canceled on Monday.
This is Tyler Zeller, and you're listening to Locked On Tar Heels.
You are Locked On Tar Heels, your daily podcast on the UNC Tar Heels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, what's up? It's Tuesday, September 9th, 2025. Welcome into the Locked On Tar Heels podcast, the only daily North Carolina show out there. I'm your host, Isaac Schade. You're joining me at the place to get your Tar Heels content every single day. It's all part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Thanks so much for making us your first listener watch to get your Tuesday going the right way. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Football season is here. Visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your futures bets now. Want to extend a special welcome to all the everydayers, all the members of the Locked On Tar Heels Discord. That link is in the show notes. Come join us. We'd love to have you. And of course, the Locked On Tar Heels Insiders. It's a great place to be. Coming up on the show today, several basketball recruiting updates for you. I teased a couple of them in the cold open, but another Tar Heel target commits elsewhere on Monday. Also, want to get back to the football field, where the changing nature of watching a Bill Belichick coach team week in and week out can be interesting for the fan experience. I'll explain. And then it was announced Carolina has yet another nationally televised football game. The Bill Belichick effect is real, you all. Okay, let's get into this basketball recruiting news. So over the weekend, Bryson Howard visits North Carolina. He's the son of Josh Howard. And there was another visit scheduled for Tajh Ariza, the son of NBA star Trevor Ariza. That was scheduled in the future. That visit was canceled on Monday. Let me tell you this. What position does Bryson Howard play? Small forward. What position does Tajh Ariza play? Small forward. Interesting. Now, it's unclear at this point. Usually when you hear of visits canceled, that's because where does your brain immediately go? Because the player is like either doesn't want to go there or because they have decided on somewhere else. However, there can be other reasons a visit would be canceled, like, say, I don't know, that position or that scholarship target has already been taken. And there were rumors kind of swirling on Monday night, unconfirmed as I record this, about whether it was the Ariza family or whether it was on the Carolina side of things that this Ariza visit was canceled. Are you putting the pieces together with me here? I have zero intel on this, right? Like, I'm never going to try to fake something I don't actually know. If I have something, I'll tell you I got something. If this is Isaac putting pieces together, I'll tell you that. This is Isaac putting some pieces together. So hear me say that. But doesn't it line up and doesn't it make, by the way, a ton of sense that Bryson Howard, a small forward, would visit over the weekend, and then coming out of the weekend, Tajh Ariza, another small forward, would cancel his visit. Why? My speculation, Bryson Howard silently committed to Carolina over the weekend. Again, hear me say, I have no inside intel on that. But I've been doing this a long time, and that's the kind of thing you see happen, right? The dominoes fit. If there's smoke, where there's fire, there's whatever that phrase is, right? Like there's something to that. Now, that could prove to be not even close to correct. But boy, that's a story I've heard told before. I'll just leave it at that. So let me just remind you some about Bryson Howard. He is, as I said, Josh Howard's son. He's a 6'5", 185-pound small forward. So you want to see him get a little more meat on those bones. He is smaller than Tajh Ariza, who is 6'9", like 200. And that's fine, whatever. But honestly, of the two, I like Howard more for who Carolina is and what Hubert Davis does than Ariza. Howard, let me read to you from Adam Finkelstein's, the first paragraph of his scouting report on Howard. You should go read it at 247. It's a great, like probably 3 paragraphs long, but this first one I think is telling of why he fits so well for Carolina. Howard is a long, and I'm quoting Finkelstein, Howard is a long and athletic southpaw, shout out to the lefties, wing who changes the game on both ends of the floor. He attacks the rim in straight lines, getting downhill and absorbing contact with a physical style. He rises up to finish above the rim and is a lob threat. He also has a translatable shooting stroke and has even shown some flashes of being able to make movement shots, 45% from three, which is very unusual for someone so young. Won't turn 18 until after his high school graduation with such long arms, 6'11" wingspan. What do you read in that? That's a Hubert Davis target right there, if ever I've seen one, right? Like 6'11" wingspan, even though he's only 6'5". I mean, hello, he is his father's son after all. Catch and shoot or on the move threes, whatever it is, being that size and that young. Again, he won't turn 18 until after he graduates high school. And so he would come to Carolina, if he comes to Carolina, pretty young. That's encouraging. Now, Ariza, I like him, but he is not a shooter. He is that really like uber athletic. He's got great positional size at 6'9", could easily play the 4 if Carolina needed. But I just think for Hubert Davis, who wants shooting and shooting and shooting, the Howard fit is better than that of the Ariza fit. Again, this is my opinion. You might disagree, and that's fine. But ultimately, at the end of the day, I would obviously take Tajh Ariza if he wanted to come to Carolina. Yes, but he falls more into that athlete category than shooter wing category. And so I think Carolina, if you can find the shooter, you take the shooter. That's what matches the Tar Heels. So we'll see how this all plays out. But I'm out here doing some sleuthing, some Sherlock Holmesing, and hopefully, man, that comes together. Now, another target that Carolina just had on campus last weekend for the TCU game was Tony Bryant, a power forward in the class, a top 5 power forward in the class. He has been kind of rumored and tied to Mizzou, not a Carolina lean, and that's where he committed on Monday. He visited Columbia, about 3.5 hours northeast of me, over this past weekend for the border war, Mizzou and Kansas, and then on Monday committed to Mizzou, which, by the way, they've got the top recruiting class in the nation right now because they've also got like a top 5 player in the class. So interesting stuff happening for Mizzou. So there it is. Tony Bryant commits to Mizzou. Would love to have had him, but there are other power forward targets out there. Hello, Mika Murinen. I want you so bad to be a Tar Heel, right? I know a lot of people like Mika as well. We'll see if Carolina, and obviously there are other power forward targets, and lots. Like there's a laundry list of all these guys, right? Like Cole Clore, obviously an in-state guy who I would love to have. Darren Rippey, who visited a while ago, he's got a lot of visits, as does Cole Clore, and Mika Murinen, and all these guys. Carolina has a laundry list. As a reminder, you're going to lose out on more than you land. So with Tony Bryant, it's like, that stinks, but cross him out, and then you can focus in on other guys. That's just the nature of the beast. So will Bryson Howard be a Tar Heel? If I'm reading the tea leaves right, yes, but we'll see. Watching a Bill Belichick team can be a frustrating endeavor for a fan, but it works. I'll explain coming up in just a second. Right after I tell you about 5-Hour Energy, y'all, it's time to fuel up and turn it up with 5-Hour Energy Transfusion. This grape, ginger, and lime flavored shot brings the iconic taste of a golf course favorite to a non-alcoholic boost. It's perfect for sinking birdies or making great memories with friends. It's a hole-in-one for your energy game. Whether you're out on the golf course or just need a little extra push to power through your day, man, we all go through these long days. 5-Hour Energy Transfusion delivers the clubhouse flavor you love without ever having to leave the green. I'm honestly not much of a golfer myself. Mini golf is my game, man. I love it and I'm great at it. But I do love going out to the golf course with my buddies to drive the cart and hang out and be part of the experience. And that's what golf is all about, is good times with good people and good flavors. The grape ginger lime flavor of 5-Hour Energy Transfusion gives you the best parts of your clubhouse go-to without leaving the course or chasing down the beverage cart. So now you can amp up the fun even more. Just buy, snap, and enter for a chance to win a dream golf trip for 2 to any golf tournament, excluding the Masters, in the USA. So tee up that trip. Visit 5hewin.com for full rules and entry. No purchase necessary. Again, excludes the Masters, and this offer ends October 31st, Halloween 2025. This episode is also brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel is making sure that you are ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet $5, and if your bet wins, you're going to get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. One of the great things about FanDuel is that it fits however you like to bet. Player props, building a same-game parlay, even jumping in live as the action unfolds. That would have been crazy on Sunday night for that Ravens-Bills game. Good grief. It just makes every game more exciting, whether you're watching your team or keeping an eye on your fantasy lineup. It's quick, easy, and it's the best way to add a little more intrigue and energy to every Sunday. The line for Carolina hosting Richmond on Saturday is not out yet, but going to be really interesting to see where it falls. Carolina covered that 13.5 at FanDuel over the weekend at Charlotte. Can they make it 2 for 2? Are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. Again, that's FanDuel.com. In the postcast following Carolina's win over Charlotte on Saturday, I called it a Belichickian win, right? Just you won. You did what you got to do. You're not trying to make it fancy or whatever it is. You're doing what you need to do to win. I want to add a little bit more to the Belichickian way of doing things in case you, as a Carolina fan, haven't spent much time, like maybe you didn't watch the Patriots teams of the Belichick era very much. And so I just remember interacting with those teams a lot. And so I want to kind of provide a framework through which to think about how you're going to have to, how we're all going to have to interact with a Bill Belichick team. Because I think the big picture here that I want to get into all of our heads is to remind us, or maybe tell you for the first time if you're unaware, that with a Bill Belichick coach team, things can and will look very different week to week. And I mean that both from a personnel standpoint and a scheme standpoint and or a playbook standpoint. So I guess I said both, but that's three things. Here's what I mean. We get so, like in basketball, for example, one of the things we talk about is the team really settles in when there's good role definition, when they know, like, hey, I'm the first player off the bench and I'm coming in at the under 16 timeout or whatever, right? Like when you can get into that consistent rhythm and roll and know what you're doing, then it helps set the team up more capably. One of the hallmarks of a Bill Belichick team is that it will not be role definition from week to week to week. It will not be the same plays over and over week to week to week. It might not even be the same schemes. Seeing different formations and things of that nature, especially right now when you're trying to be vanilla and not put too much on tape. Now, Bill Belichick is trying to get a lot on tape so he can grade it for his guys. But what he's not trying to do is give away info and intel to Clemson and the rest of the ACC. Why? Because Bill Belichick never does that. He doesn't give you anything more than he absolutely has to. And I love it. I love the cantankerous mastermind nature of him. And so here, I kind of want to look at a glimpse of what that looks like offensively and defensively. Offensively, it's so hard to identify a player. I often compare it. I'm going to make a fantasy football comp, both here as we talk offense and when I talk defense in a second. While the Bill Belichick teams were incredible at real football, outside of like Gronk or Brady, I wanted no part of any Patriots wide receivers or running backs. Why? Because it could be a completely different guy week in and week out, depending on what fit best that the other team couldn't stop, or what fit best because we know we have an advantage here or against that cornerback, or maybe we feel like the offensive line can obliterate their defensive line, get to the second level, clear out the linebackers, and then we got holes, right? And so when you think about that with Carolina, I know there's been, even in these first two games, like, oh man, Jordan Shipp went crazy, or not crazy, but had a really strong game against TCU. But then it was Chris Culliver against Charlotte, and Jordan Shipp didn't do much. Well, welcome to Bill Belichick. Oh man, we had these 5 different running backs all play in the first half. but Juju June was the one that was out there carving it up. Why didn't we see more of him? I've heard that question asked a ton since this weekend, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Like, hey, why didn't they ride Juju more? Because that's what Bill Belichick does. He's going to continue to rotate running backs. Just get used to it. Get used to it right now. And yes, they will ride somebody if he's hot, but they're going to continue to rotate backs in and out depending on play or situation or whatever it is. Some weeks it could be Gio with his arm. Other weeks it could be Gio with his legs. You just never know how it's going to come together. That's what he wants. He doesn't want you to know. Why? Because he doesn't want the opposition to know either. He doesn't know what they're going to come out and do. So the key to a Bill Belichick offense is I'm going to identify an area we can exploit, and then I'm going to go back to that well over and over and over until you prove that you can stop it. Right? Like, I don't care that you're a college kid. If you're the weak link on a defense, we're coming after you, baby. Whether that's a cornerback, a safety, a linebacker, an end that we can get around, whatever it is, until you prove you can stop it, we're going to dial it up again and again and again. And we're going to use plays that cater to that weakness, or maybe an area, maybe you're not necessarily weak, but we are much stronger than you in that area as an offense. So we're going to exploit it that way. It's similar in basketball to running the same action again and again, because you can't defend this pick and roll and we get a lob out of it every time or whatever it is, right? Same thing. We're going to exploit you. That's what they're trying to do. Now, defensively, it's similar to, I made the fantasy football reference. In fantasy football, if I had, let's say, my star wide receiver, for my best wide receiver on my fantasy team was going up against New England on a given weekend. You play your stars, you don't bench them in fantasy, but I would give legitimate consideration to maybe not playing him that weekend. Why? Because defensively, I, Bill Belichick, am going to identify your biggest weapon that you rely on the most, and I'm going to shut that down. I'm going to find a way to eradicate that and eliminate it from your arsenal so that you are forced to beat us in another way, right? Like, let's say, I'm just trying to think of Saquon Barkley went absolutely nuts last year. We're going to commit to the box and have a spy on Jalen Hurts and make him beat us with his arm, which he can obviously do, but we're not going to let Saquon beat us. Or, sometimes if the moment calls for it, we're going to stop. We're going to shut the water off to everything else. Let Saquon get his, but we're going to turn everything else out. Like, it's just so diabolical the way they look at it. But the frustrating thing is, for a fan, is that is going to cause things to look different week in and week out, and you just never know what you're going to get. But here's the big but. It's effective. It works. At least it worked at the NFL level. And that is my question, and that's what we're going to have to wait to see. Will this personnel scheme play changes from week to week? Will that work at the college level? That's one of the big questions we're going to have to watch and see. And we're not going to have the answer to that here in week 2 of his first year, maybe even, after 4 non-conference games off week, and then you head into Clemson. We might not even know by then if it's going to work. It might take until next year before we know the answer to that question. But I wanted to set that up so that if you hadn't already trained your brain that way to be ready to see different things in different weeks, that's why. Don't get frustrated because this receiver killed it last week and he's doing nothing this week, or this running back got the lion's share of the carries last week and this week he's on the bench a lot, because maybe the moment dictated and called for something different. Welcome to Bill Belichick, everybody. The water's fine, right? All right. Speaking of Bill Belichick, there is another nationally televised game on the books for Carolina coming up in 2 weeks, and there's no reason for that game to be on Fox other than the Bill Belichick effect. We'll talk about that and more to wrap the show in just a second. Right after I tell you about game time, college football is back. I could not be more excited. The tailgates, the rivalries, the energy in the stands, man, there is nothing like it. And boy, is that energy better than ever at Keenan right now because of Bill Belichick. But let's be real. Actually, getting tickets can feel like more of a battle than the actual game itself. The endless lines, the hidden fees, prices jumping at checkout. That's why I use Game Time, man. It's the app that gives the advantage back to you, puts it in your hands as the fan. It's the easiest way to score last minute tickets at the best prices with no surprise fees. What you see is what you pay. Pulled up Game Time. You can do it. Just a couple taps. You can find some great tickets at great prices for your favorite college football games, whether it's the Tar Heels or other ones. Honestly, it's faster, it's cheaper, less stressful than any other third-party way I've bought tickets. This Richmond game coming up this weekend, I found a zone deal for just $42 on the upper sideline. Yes, sure. A game like this pre-Bill Belichick, you could have got for the price of a cup of coffee. But now in the Belichick era, man, that is a great deal. I'd encourage you to go check it out. But also remember, often prices go down the closer we get to kickoff at Game Time. So watch that. And take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Terms apply. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Game Time today. It made a ton of sense that Bill Belichick's first game at North Carolina was going to be televised in a premium location sometime, someplace, somewhere. It ended up being that standalone Labor Day game. Carolina doesn't get that game against TCU on that. I mean, they get the game against TCU. I just mean Carolina TCU is not a standalone Labor Day game if it's not for Bill Belichick. That's incredible. Well, it was announced yesterday that Carolina now has another primo nationally televised game, and it's the UCF game. And even more so than because TCU is a known entity. Sonny Dykes, was in the national championship a couple years ago. North Carolina at UCF is the Fox 3:30 game next Saturday, September 20th. That is insanity to think about. And this is the Bill Belichick effect taken on full force and storm, because there is no other world unless suddenly North Carolina and UCF were like these both great college football programs. There is no other world in which that game gets that slot on that TV station. Now, obviously a part of it, you're like, why is Carolina on Fox? The Big 12 and Fox have an agreement. Reminder, UCF is in the Big 12 now, which is still kind of crazy. So that makes sense you got to have some Big 12 game. But Fox is clearly Fox wants the Bill Belichick effect, and they're going to get it. How will Carolina perform? We let's get through Richmond first and see how that goes, right? The first full week of preparation outside of the TCU game, having the whole offseason. All of that is something we're going to watch and take into effect. But man, this is a new world. This is new water we're swimming in as North Carolina Tar Heels people. And assuming that Carolina, either now or in the long term, can find sustained success, this is what you got to get used to. Think about the come up for Clemson and Dabo. They weren't much, but man, as Clemson started to go, now they have all these big time TV games, prime time, whatever it is. That could be Carolina's reality. But the Bill Belichick effect won't hold on forever. At some point, it will have to transition into it's Bill Belichick and Carolina's putting together dubs. We'll watch for that. One other big picture thing I want to say is been thinking more about the QB1 conversation between Gio Lopez and Max Johnson. We had a lot of conversation on this show coming out of the TCU game about, hey, look, with Gio being banged up, with the way Max looked when he came in, would you consider the switch to Max Johnson, maybe even if Gio is fully healthy? And we got our answer to that at Charlotte. Apparently Gio was good enough to go, more than good enough to go, because you don't risk putting him in against Charlotte unless he's some certain level of percentage of I'm good, coach. But the other thing is, I expected, okay, Gio's starting, but at some point Max will get a series, or maybe similar to what Charlotte did, brought in Connor Harrell's backup, Grayson Loftus, for 2 series there at the end. Nah, nothing for Max Johnson. And here's what that tells me. A couple things. Number one, this is Gio's. This is Gio's team. This is his job. This is his role. Now, obviously, if he gets hurt or things just go horribly awry over the course of the next 2-3 games, then you revisit it. But as things stand right now, what this tells me is there is a gap big enough between these two that they didn't even consider it. Now, part of that might be a talent situation. Part of it might just be Max's continued recovery and return from injury. I'm not sure. But what I do know is that this is Gio Lopez's team. And so we're going to watch that come to fruition over however long for the next little bit. I would assume that if Saturday goes as it should, should being the operative word there, that Carolina has this game well in control and well in hand by the third quarter or so. And then Max Johnson probably gets the whole fourth, maybe. I don't know what it is. But not with the game on the line. Right? That's what we saw, because that game till the bitter end was like, I don't know, maybe. And so Gio Lopez saw every bit of the action. That's interesting. And that's something to keep in mind. But that's where I'm at. My deduction from that, this is Gio Lopez's team, and we'll keep watching for that. Another critical piece of wonderment for all of us is Chris Culliver's health. Obviously had that, what appeared to be a shoulder injury. It was just that, when somebody's sacking a quarterback, when you got that drive and you put your whole weight on and you get flagged for it in the NFL, that was that kind of tackle on Chris Culliver. Like I said that in the postcast on Saturday night. Not flagged, but obviously it got Culliver. And so I wouldn't be surprised at all if that's a thing that's going to need a couple weeks. Maybe you don't see Culliver for Richmond or UCF, and then you got an off week before Clemson comes to Keenan. So, maybe best case scenario, Clemson, I'm just guessing, but that would make some sense, right? Bring him back for ACC play. All right, gang, that's it for today's show. Tomorrow, it is our next roster preview. Jarin Stevenson, Riley Davis is joining me. Going to be a lot of fun. Coach Rob will be with me on Thursday, and then we'll wrap the week on Friday, getting ready for Richmond and other great stuff as well. If you've not subscribed to the show on YouTube, hit that subscribe button down there. If you've not subscribed on your favorite audio podcast platform, man, make sure you do that as well. If you haven't joined the Locked On Tar Heels Discord, we'd love to see you in there. That link's in the show notes, as is the link for Locked On Tar Heels Insider Program, a way to go next level with the show. Y'all, it's always a great day to be a Tar Heel. We'll talk again tomorrow, but until then, peace.